Hi, I've just been to see a film in the cinema on a Friday night. Now, those of you who know me may know that I was burgled last week, which was a bit worrying and a bit unnerving. I'm fine. Nothing of any value was taken, so it's fine, but unnerving. So obviously, a great idea was to go and see a new Halloween film on a Friday night about a man who breaks into people's houses and murders them horribly. Um, I've got a history with John Carpenter. I think that he's probably the world's greatest living director. Um, he's phenomenally talented. He's a craftsman. I mean, I've talked about this on the podcast. I think he's the only filmmaker who I've done two movies on because he's done so many great movies and people have a really terrible opinion of a lot of his films. They say, oh yeah, there are some classics like Halloween, The Fog, The Thing, Escape from New York. But there's also Escape from LA, Prince of Darkness, Memoirs of an Invisible Man, Village of the Damned, Vampires, Ghosts of Mars that people don't really like. And Village of the Damned is very good. So I was excited about a new Halloween film, one that has Carpenter's approval. He was producer and creative consultant. He co-wrote the score with his usual band, his son and his godson. Jamie Lee Curtis is back. Nick Castle, who played the Shape, there was Michael Myers in the original film, he's back. She. I'm delighted to say it's fucking great. It's great. It's easily the best of the Halloween sequels. I mean, not that there's a huge amount of competition, because really only one of them is good. And I'm not counting Halloween 3, as I've done a podcast on that as well. Halloween H20, 20 years later, which is possibly the worst title of any film ever made, is quite a good third instalment of the trilogy of Halloween and Halloween 2. And then it ends with Halloween H20. It ends with the final death of Michael Myers. And now we have this new film, which is a direct sequel to the very first Halloween. It ignores all the other sequels. It even ignores the idea that Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, the only survivor from the original film, is Michael Myers' sister. That was invented for the sequel. Carpenter didn't like it. It's out of the window. It makes no sense in the movie. The movie is a stripped down, back to basics horror movie. But it's not totally stripped down, because it's really interested in the psychology of the characters. A lot of the first half of the film is exploring the fallout of what happened 40 years ago when a man escaped from a lunatic asylum, put on a mask, and just started walking around a quiet suburban neighbourhood butchering people. That leaves a mark, and Laurie Strode is a very damaged woman. And the film makes absolutely no pretense. No, she's broken. She's had failed relationships. She has a daughter whose life she ruined by forcing her to prepare like a survivalist for the second coming of Michael. She now has a granddaughter as well, who's a teenager and goes off to a big party on Halloween night, because they always do. There's always some sort of costumed rave in these Halloween films. It's not my scene. I went to a nightclub once and I didn't even take my coat off. But the film spends a lot of time developing this environment where you're seeing the damage that's done over this long period of time. This is the only point where the film stumbles, I think, because it's quite clumsy in getting all the pieces onto the board, knowing how they can all move. A lot of the dialogue of people talking about their feelings is really on the nose. There's a line in the trailer where Laurie says he's a killer, but tonight he will be killed. And I was thinking, oh God, please let them cut that from the movie. That's such a horrible line of dialogue. And it's cut. It's not in the film. So once you pass the halfway mark, and it does turn more towards not stalk and slash, because that sounds very rote. It's Michael Myers is going around and he's killing people in the middle of the night, and the police are around, and Michael Myers' doctor, who's as Loomis's successor, is around, and Laurie's trying to get her family to safety, and she's got a dick of a son-in-law who is possibly the stupidest character in the film, the idiot son-in-law. But by that halfway mark, the director David Gordon Green, who is, I think his first film was produced by Terrence Malick, and he went off to do stoner comedies. He did Your Highness and Pineapple Express, and now he's teamed up with one of his old cohorts from that area, Danny McBride, and they wrote this. So how does that even connect? I mean, it's not a perfect script. It needs polish. It needs a bit of work, but it's got good ideas. It's got good structure, and as a director, Green really knows how to do this. He understands tension. He's clearly studied the original film. He's studied Carpenter's style, so there is a stylistic sense that's different from Carpenter's, but it feels like it meshes. It's not too fussy, but it has an elegance to it, and it works extremely well. He really likes long shots with, see, like that. I forgot this was being filmed, with sort of things in the foreground, but things in the far distance, and that makes it quite dynamic and interesting. And it's quite a subtle script in some ways. I think the thematic elements are woven in quite subtly. There's a very obvious pro-feminist subtext to the film of the women fighting back against this monstrous male force. There was another one I thought of on the way home, which I've forgotten. That's the problem with doing these. I never make any notes. But there was another thing about it that was really good as well. But it's a really smart film. It references the original and it references some of the other Halloween movies, but in ways that I don't think would act as roadblocks for non-fans. If you don't get why these are clever, they just look like extra bits, like certain shots or certain scenes that echo elements of the original. The music is fantastic, as I said, I think. I mean, I don't want to go on too long because I can see by the counter I've talked for nearly 8 minutes. It's a really terrific film. I cannot recommend it highly enough. It does have problems. It's not flawless, but it gets past those because it's clearly made with great skill and great craft, but with great love of the material and love of the characters. And if that love and that enthusiasm sometimes overrides a sense of, is this the right line at this point? Does this need more finesse? I think that I would rather have something made with love and with affection and care than yet another Halloween sequel that's dashed off by some journeyman and a bunch of actors who can't wait to leave at the end of the day. So this is really, I think, the best case scenario. This is the best Halloween sequel we could have ever asked for. It does justice to the original. John Carpenter and Jamie Lee Curtis have both said that, as far as they're concerned, for Halloween, this is the end of the road for them. And if so, I think that's the right decision. But what a way to go.